Yeah, baby. Freedom, like you adore. Fun, fulfillment, freedom, whatever it is for you. Today, I know, I think I always say I'm really excited, but I really am excited today. I'm interviewing the wonderful HeatherAsh Amara, who is, well, I mean, what can I say, really? Best-selling author, philanthropist, mentor, land steward. Heather has spent the last 3 decades weaving together earth-based wisdom, mindfulness, and practical strategies for creative, courageous, and compassionate individual and community change. Heather, thank you so much for your time and for joining us today.
You're so welcome, Jerry. I'm so happy to be here with you and with everybody.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. I'm really excited. So I feel like we got lots to fit into our time, but I want to go, because this is obviously a summit about creating a life you adore, and I know that you have that, but also you inspire a lot of other people as well. I remember catching one of your Facebook lives a while back, and you had this beautiful setting and a yurt, and just this really solid, hearty community feeling. Tell us about you, your life, and what you've created, and community as well.
Mm. Yeah, I'm so blessed. I've always been really inspired and seen how much change happens when we have a community and people around us that are also on the journey. And so that's always been a big part of my healing path and my spiritual path. Is I was blessed in college to have an just amazing group of women that we circled every month and did new and full moon ceremonies together and learned about earth-based spirituality together. And that circle 30 years later is still continuing in Davis, California. Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. So that was really I would say part of the foundation is just recognizing how much I learned and grew from being part of a circle of women. And so that's what I've really strived to do my life, is to learn practical tools to help us to shift and grow and get more centered and compassionate and loving with ourselves and others. And to also then craft community in such a way that we learn how to hold each other unconditionally, to really not judge each other or compare or criticize, but to cheerlead each other on, to celebrate each other. And that as that starts to happen, and we also receive that, our inner healing and growth is just so exponentially transformed.
My God, yeah, I was going to say us women need that, but we all need that. That's yeah, beautiful. I mean, community, understatement of the year, but you know, as you said, it really is integral to our happiness. We need that connection. What would you say to someone who's maybe still searching for that or had it but lost it, especially since what we've been through in the last few years? I think a lot of people might be feeling quite disjointed and maybe even lost.
Absolutely. I think that's so true, that we need to be really creative in how we craft community in our lives. And of course, the preference is always to have physical people that are in the same area that we live in, that we can meet with in person. And I always encourage people to find that. And I can give some ideas of how. And because of the pandemic, because of what's happened with us all getting woven together much more strongly on the internet, we're actually incredibly blessed that we can create community with people anywhere in the world. And that, anybody says, oh, well, I can't have community, I'm isolated. Well, yeah, of course you can. Just have to be willing to start looking. And what I always share with people around looking for community is that what you want to find is not a community that says, hi, welcome, this is who we need you to be part of our community.
Oh my gosh,
but actually says, like, no, that says, hi, who are you? Who are you becoming? We're excited to see. We'll be with you on the journey because we're becoming as well. And that there's a lot of playfulness and exploration and willingness to make mistakes with each other. And that whoever is helping to hold the container for the community is also on the journey.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. It's really interesting. As you said that, I was like, yeah, I think that's why I've like pulled myself away from community before, because I feel like, yeah, there's a box, you know, or there's a right way to it, which, oh my God. Because I think, you know, relationships in general, it's such a growing, healing, and can be challenging ground. But then also when you're in community and you may be kind of committing to, okay, I'm going to buy a property on this land, or, you know, put money in, or commit to it. It's like, what if there's people there that I really just trigger me, you know? Yeah, I love that. I love that. So, tell me about how you use the word witchy, which I love so much. Okay, so I do this weird thing where I have two questions in one. But so one side of it is, how did you get into doing what you're doing? Or, you know, has it always been a part of your heart? And then also that sense, there's, I don't know, I guess I wonder whether us women, the matriarchy, coming back into our power, embracing the whole witch energy, and educating people about it, or you know, how witches got such a bad press, and Friday the 13th and all of that, but how that can go to really, or can it go to really creating this new earth and new world? Do you believe that? Do you think that's where we're headed? And if so, how are we going to do it?
Such good questions.
I think I chucked about 3 in there. Sorry, Heather.
That's all good. I can try. So I was blessed because I was raised in Southeast Asia, was exposed to a lot of different traditions, a lot of different belief systems. We traveled with my family all over the world. And when I came to the United States to go to college, I was like, what is wrong with these people? And what is wrong with me? Because what I felt was a sense of disconnection. And I didn't have the language for it. I just knew something felt off. And I got into politics really big for a couple years, and I'm still very socially minded, I would say. Like, social justice work is very important in the work that I do. But what I recognized at the time is I didn't have enough skill to keep myself centered. I was angry, I was bitter. There was, you know, a lot of my friends and I were trying to make change, and it felt like nothing was working and nothing was changing. And so that's when I started studying different spiritual traditions. And I really came home when I discovered earth-based spiritual traditions. And the first book that I read when I was 19 that just blew everything open was Starhawk's Dreaming the Dark. I remember reading that book and just like, I knew there was something else. So to connect with Starhawk at such a young age, and then to find a coven at a very young age, it's kind of funny. A friend and I decided we were going to do a big ritual for the university, and we're like, we'll invite Starhawk. And of course, she was busy. But somebody said, well, you know, there's a witch in town. So, and they said, she lives on B Street. You'll know which house it is. So literally, we walked down B Street and we're like, well, that's obvious. Like the house that's overgrown and like there's flowers everywhere. And we literally went and knocked on the door and said, hi, will you teach us? So I was very blessed to have a dear, dear friend of mine now, someone who was a solitary practitioner for many, many years, who then took us in, us little babies in, and guided and supported us. So yeah, I believe that, you know, a lot of women now are waking back up. Like we're remembering the old ways. We're understanding that the places where we've been taught, well, you just have to be perfect, or you just have to be in a relationship, or you just have to have the right job, or you just have to have kids. All the places we've been taught, if you do it this way, if you follow the rules, then you'll be happy. We're recognizing that's not true. That I talk to so many women that are like, I did everything I was supposed to do, and I don't even know who I am any longer. Or women that are just now coming into their 20s or early 30s and are wanting to find a new way of being before they, you know, they can feel that they're starting to lose themselves already. So I'm excited about this time because I see women, and all of us, all genders, waking up again and realizing we need to go back to the ancestors and the old ways, that we need to go back to listening deeply to the earth, to stepping out of what I call linear living. Like, if I do this and this and this, then this will be the result, then I'll do it right. And to realize life's messy, it's unpredictable. And if, anything in the last 3 years taught us, it's that we are not in control.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah. And so we need to learn how to really ground ourselves and connect to the earth and be a bridge between the earth and the sky, connect with the elements, be in relationship with the seasons, and start to really honor that we're both here to celebrate and grow and mature and have joy in our lives. And we're also here to learn how to have grief and how to let go and how to release and how to honor the dark and the stillness. And so there's beauty. There's beauty in all of it.
Oh my God, that's just poetic. Have you written poems? I love that. It's so beautiful, but it is. I was going to say you make it sound so simple, but you didn't. You made it sound so poetic that, yeah, the joy and the beauty and everything, but then also embracing and being okay with the grief, because obviously we can't deny it. But I love how you marry that and share that. That was so beautiful, so poetic. So I'm going to do this 2-question thing again, because I don't know, I'm excited to get both of them out. And they're probably linked, actually. One is, where I'm like tapping into your potentially witchy future psychic abilities. Where do you see us in 10 to 20 years? Please say the new word. And that's me. That's Mrs. Positive Dreamy being all kind of weird there. And also, what do you say to someone who just does, because it was just linked to what you said before. What would you say to someone who just doesn't feel like they don't know who they are and what they want, and even what a life they adore is like, never mind believing they can create it?
Yeah. Well, here's the truth. I don't know where we're going to be in 10 years. We're in such a pivot point in so many levels. And so what I train myself and I train others to do is, let's get ready for anything. Let's be ready for the best case scenario of that there's some miraculous shift in consciousness where we really realize we need to take care of the earth and we reverse a lot of the things that we've been doing. And there's an end to war. I always hold the opening and the hope for that. And I'm also realistic. We don't know what's going to happen. And so what I hope is in 10 years is that there are enough of us that are grounded and are able to be super flexible with whatever's arising.
Wow, that's
because we really need
wise.
Deep creativity, deep groundedness, connection, so that whatever happens, we're like, all right, I'm here. I can show up for this.
Yeah. And do you think anyone can still live in a city or close to a city and still have that flexibility and joy?
I think so, yes. I mean, I've talked to a lot of indigenous women, especially, that, their whole cultures were genocided, they're struggling, their kids were taken away from them, and they're joyful. And I asked, I've interviewed quite a few women that I'm like, how can you be joyful? How? I know how much of your heritage has been destroyed and that you're still not honored. And I remember great grandmother Mary Lyons, just a wonderful Ojibwe elder, said to me, we have to be joyful. We must dance. We must sing. That's how we go forward. And so I think it's really also critical for us to look to the indigenous elders to help us to realize it is possible, that this is not new. We take it of oh my God, this is so all of the things that are happening. But the truth is, there's been a lot of hard things that humans have done to each other for millennia. And things that have happened globally, temperature-wise, all of it. And so instead of being shocked and how can this be happening in the modern world? It's this is part of the cycles as well. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like. Yeah. And to your second question around like somebody who doesn't know, has that feeling sense of, I don't know who I am. I don't know how to show up in my own life. I don't recognize it. And how you go from like finding yourself again to then creating joy and creating a life that you adore. It's really small baby steps.
Yeah.
So what I always tell the women in that I work with, that start by going to the grocery store and looking at the fruit and vegetables and deciding what color you like. Like,
oh, wow.
Of this orange or this lemon, which color is more appealing to you today? And actually start that small, because so many women that I talk to, they're like, we just have no idea. And I'm like, okay, instead of, sometimes we really hurt ourselves where we're like, I need to know my purpose. I need to know exactly who I am. And I've seen so many women beat themselves up because they don't know who they are, and then judge themselves and then think, I should know who I am. What's wrong with me? Why don't I have a life I adore? And it's like, okay, just start with, what do you like? And start really small and just ask yourself that question with a lot of love. Hi, sweetie. What smell? What color? What fruit? And then give yourself permission. And that's what it's doing. You're giving yourself permission to learn who you are and to be curious about who you are now, not who you were in the past, and not who you think you're supposed to be. And that's the beginning of finding yourself, and then building from there to create what's in alignment with what your heart makes your heart sing.
Wow, that's so juicy, soft, and solid. I love those steps. They're so beautiful, so beautiful. Do you think someone with, a hard start, with tough lessons, maybe a tough childhood, has more or less chance of creating a life they adore? Just in terms, I'm just noticing recently, a lot of people are saying, oh my God, my trauma is coming up. And, maybe they're kind of stuck in old ways and old patterns and things. Do you think there's I don't know, I also sometimes look at people who have had a really blessed life, and they're actually miserable because they haven't built the strength and the gratitude for what they have now, for the little things.
I think you're so right, Jerry. I see that all the time.
Yeah.
One of the things of living in Asia is that I remember going with my family. I don't think it was my school. I think my family took me there to one of the shanty towns outside of Bangkok. And there's like sewage on the ground. There's planks over the muck. People have houses that they've built out of tin or like whatever they could find. And what I noticed is they were really joyful.
Yeah.
They're incredibly joyful. And this isn't true I'm not diminishing poverty and how hard poverty can be. And the idea of, well, if I just have the big house and the car and I have the partner and like that'll make me happy is such a lie. It's such a lie. And sometimes when we've been given a lot in our lives and we start taking it for granted that we should have those things, and that it's just like, I can never think of the word, but there's this entitlement, like, well, it's just the way it should be. Yeah. Right. And you're right. Then we don't have the capacity then when something shifts to navigate it. So, I never wish challenges on anyone. And I also know for myself that the places where I've had the biggest challenges have been the places where I found the most strength on the other side, the most love on the other side, by being supported and by learning how to use everything to help me open my heart and be more present. So that's always the like foundational choice we have. You can use anything against yourself or to feel less than, or that there's not enough, or you can use everything to get more resilient, more powerful, more.
That's amazing. I love that. You just reminded me so, because I'm navigating an interesting time at the moment, and you just reminded me of something that I used to do when I lived in London over a decade ago, when I was having a weird time. I used to kind of look up to God, goddess, and go, I don't know why this is happening. You've obviously got a really good sense of humor, but at least I'll be stronger and wiser through the end of it. So I must remember that this time. Thank you for that. What is, you can choose a question or you can answer both. What's your definition of success, or do you even honor success? Or what's your definition of a life that you adore? Like, what is it about your life that you adore?
Oh my gosh. Success. So for me, success is a feeling sense of internal fulfillment. Regardless, I mean, I don't like whatever the outside looks like. It's that we internally have a sense of fulfillment. And I adore my life so beyond the beyond. You know, I steward 180 acres of land outside of the Santa Fe National Forest. It was really a miracle of how that land came to me. And I'm building a retreat center and a hermitage, and I get to spend, you know, days up there, and I get to travel. Like, my life is, I have a really beautiful balance now in my life of traveling all over the world and then having a home base that is going to be a sanctuary for, you know, decades, hopefully hundreds of years to come, that we're saving and creating a legacy with the land and with hermitage. And yeah, and last year, almost a year ago, wildfire went through the land, and we lost 95% of the forest.
Oh, my angel, I didn't know that. I did, or else I did and I blocked it out. Oh, that's horrendous.
It's such a big thing. Yeah. And the building, you know, our community kitchen that we had built out of adobe over the pandemic was saved. We're so grateful for what the firefighters were able to save. And it put like a huge left turn into the dream. And so it's been interesting, like, just because I have a life I adore doesn't mean I'm immune from climate change, from chaos, from challenges. But now I wouldn't change it. I mean, well, I would rather not have had the wildfire. And what's coming, like what I'm learning and who I'm becoming because of that, I'm really, really proud of myself for meeting that big of a challenge, and for our community, for how we've navigated it. So,
so how many acres have you got now?
Well, we have 180, and I'd say about 5 acres is forested that still has trees, or probably less than that. Probably more like 2 acres, honestly. But the grandma tree, like the big 400-year-old Douglas fir grandma tree, lived.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, she lived. A miraculous. Yeah. The first time I went up to the land, I went up and checked out our community kitchen, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go look. And I walked across acres and acres of dead trees. Like, it was so soil sterilized. It was so hard. And I came around the corner, and there she was. And I'm like, how did she live?
How? OMG.
Yeah. So I just met, this is what's so beautiful too, is that trust is, I just met a soil scientist who's also an artist, and her specialty is soil remediation. And we just had this beautiful conversation. She's like, we're going to take the soil from the grandma tree, and we're going to inoculate the rest of the land, and she will help heal the rest of the land.
God. Oh, I just love it. You're a magic, witchy, wonderful worker. I love it. So, but like a really basic question, but I'm curious, how long will it take to see some seedlings, some growth again?
We've already, like the fall, we had a lot of rains, which was traumatic for some people because there's a lot of flooding. But on our land, the amount of wildflowers that came back post-fire, like I have friends that help me with the land up there, and they have been up in that area for 50 years. And they're like, we have never seen some of these flowers before, ever in our lifetime.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So the land is amazing, and the places that are sterilized will have to help and inoculate and help bring the mycelium networks back. And it'll take a lot longer for the forest, obviously, to replant trees. But I just learned how to make seed balls, which are these little magical universes. I'm totally geeked out about this.
Oh, tell me, I love that. What are seed balls?
It's clay and compost, and then you put in this rooting agent. I can't remember, it has a big long name, but you put this in to help the roots go into the soil, and then you put seeds in. So you make little balls and
Oh,
you
so
put them all
exciting.
over the land. I know. And then what happens is that when it rains hard, the clay melts. So it has to be a good rain. The clay starts to dissolve, but then there's all this nutrients for the seeds.
Oh,
So we're going to be
unbelievable.
putting those, we're going to be creating thousands of seed balls and
Oh,
putting
well
them.
done you. I love it. What kind of seeds?
There's all different ones. We have trying to think of what are some of the, well, we'll be doing amaranth. There are these different kinds of vetch for fixing nitrogen. There's a gazillion different ones.
Wow,
Yeah.
amazing.
And when we built the Adobe building, we actually made about 400 bricks out of Adobe. And on every brick, we wrote a word that
Oh
the
no.
community, like different people from the community had shared words with us, and we wrote words on every brick. So that building, so I'm like, ooh, with the seed balls, we can put prayers into every single seed
Oh
ball.
my God.
So it is,
Re
it's a lot of work, and it's
yeah,
also, and
but
this is magic. This is what we're navigating nowadays with climate change, is we have to
yeah.
figure it out and
So
learn
you're
how
not one of the
to.
people that believes that climate change is just something that they've put out there as another fear mongering thing. No.
I've experienced it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You you mentioned a hermitage, and my inner introvert and hermit was like, oh, what's that? I want that. What is that? Is that part of the community? And also, how many people have you got in the community?
Well, we don't have, I don't think anybody's ever going to live up there full time.
Yeah.
It's really a place of sanctuary for people to come and rest and get
Heaven.
rejuvenated. Yeah. And we're looking at buying land around. There's quite a few pieces of land around that may be physical community. That could definitely happen. But for me, the land's off grid. And I'm making a choice not to put it on grid, not to have internet, not to have electricity. And we need places that are sanctuaries where we can take our body and get our bodies into nature, away from all of the digital noise. And, I'm so grateful for Zoom, like for this. And I'm so like passionate about creating places where we can, what I'm thinking of is calling them artist in wilderness, where people can come and have a week-long retreat or a month retreat where they know that their basic needs are taken care of, that there'll be food, that they can just rest and be alone and just be in connection to nature.
Oh, it's
So
so
that's the
much
vision.
needed. Oh my God, that sounds like total bliss. And
Mhm.
yeah, and also connect with some people as well. That sounds amazing. Oh my God, so exciting. Um, is there any question that you wish I'd asked you, Heather,
Oh
that
my
I haven't
gosh.
asked you?
You've had such great questions. That's the one thing that I'll just share, is just that reminder to all of us around the importance of baby steps and really
Oh,
learning how to love and support ourselves forward, that you're not going to create a life you adore by judging yourself and punishing yourself and beating yourself up and comparing yourself to other people. It's the process is as important as where we get to, and in fact, more important. So it's not about it'll be out there. It's like, how are you going to bring it here?
yeah,
That's the one.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. Heaven to earth. I love it. Your words are just so they're obviously very grounded, but and I've used the word before when I've been speaking, solid. It's they come from a very, I feel like there's many generations of ancestors coming through you as well. It's really beautiful. Really beautiful. Thank you, beautiful. And you have a gift sanctuary meditation for the viewers and listeners. Is that true? Will you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite meditations. So it's a meditation that you can do anywhere to help you have a sense of inner sanctuary. So yes, it would be lovely for all of us to be able to do hermitages out in the middle of nowhere. However, we can learn how to create this inner sanctuary that we can go to get replenished, to get rejuvenated, to find our courage and strength. And so that's what that meditation is it's a find that inner sanctuary, a place where you can rest into yourself and get
That's
nourished. Mhm.
That's amazing. And it feels like that's where your voice, your words, your wisdom, your energy have been coming from since we've been speaking. I don't feel like I'm talking to just one person here. It's very, very beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm over the moon, as I said when we started, that you said yes to being a guest on the summit. Thank you so much for your time. Yeah, thank you, beautiful.
You're so welcome, sweetheart. Thank you.
And thank you all for listening, for viewing, and remember to get that beautiful free gift. And we'll see you next time. Bye, beauties.